Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I want to stand and support your statement on an appointment of chief officers in Garissa County since 2022 August. Mr. Speaker, it is very tragic because under the Constitution, a formation of a county government will only be complete with the appointment of a CEC and CEO in office, Mr. Speaker. It is very unfortunate because under the Public Finance and Management Act, Mr. Speaker, sir, Section 148, thereabout of Public Finance Management Act designates a chief officer as accounting officer, Mr. Speaker. What is happening in Garissa County, Mr. Speaker, is sad, is tragic. They are in office illegally and unconstitutionally, Mr. Speaker. Because a county executive will only be complete with CECs, CEOs, and directors in place, Mr. Speaker. So the violation, the consequence of violation of Section 148 of Public Finance Management Act, Mr. Speaker, is very unfortunate. I want to request, Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious statement. It's not just an ordinary statement. I would have expected the Committee of JLAC, Mr. Speaker, the Committee of Devolution to immediately invite or summon the governor of Garissa to explain to this country or to this House, Mr. Speaker, why chief officers have not been vetted and appointed, Mr. Speaker. The second point, Mr. Speaker, is that under county assemblies, public appointments on county assemblies, Mr. Speaker, is very clear that when you appoint, it must be vetted by the county assembly, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, finally, in fact, as a House, we have so much power, Mr. Speaker, that when you look under Article 225 of the Constitution, this House, Mr. Speaker, has power even to stop, Mr. Speaker, the disbursement of funds to Garissa County government. Mr. Speaker, when you look under Article 228, and this is what I want to challenge, Mr. Speaker, the controller of budget.
Senators will listen to Cherargei in silence.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, I want every senator to listen to this with a lot of respect. Under Article 225, I'm speaking as the Vice Chairperson of County Public Accounts, with a lot of authority. Mr. Speaker, under Article 2255, this House has power to stop even funds. Because, Mr. Speaker, who is accounting officer of Garissa County government as at now? There is no chief officer as per Section 148 of Public Finance Management Act. So, Mr. Speaker, what county executive in Garissa is doing is illegal, is unconstitutional, it violates the law, Mr. Speaker. And that is why I come to the third limb, Mr. Speaker. When you look under Article 2285, Mr. Speaker, the controller shall not approve any withdrawal from public fund unless satisfied that the withdrawal is authorized by law. So who is withdrawing the money of Garissa County government if they don't have an accounting officer since August 2022, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, the county government must be called to order. It must be held accountable, Mr. Speaker, and I want to support you as the Senator of Garissa for bringing to the attention to this House, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, it looks like what is happening in Garissa, Mr. Speaker, is a crime scene. You know why? The hospitals are not functional. There is no water, Mr. Speaker. Can you believe in your county, and you know very well, 1 kilometer to the town, there is no water, and there is Tana River water, Mr. Speaker. Number two, you have a dysfunctional county government, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, we want to say Garissa County government must be held accountable and must appear before this House, Mr. Speaker. Unless the governor is presiding over a criminal enterprise in Garissa County government, Mr. Speaker, which we shall not allow, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I thank you and support your statement.
Senator Olekina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to make some comment and support the statement that you made in your capacity as a senator for Garissa County. Mr. Speaker, the issue of accountability is something which is very, very important. If you look at Article 179 of the Constitution, it defines what is called the executive authority of a county, which is vested on the governor, the deputy governor. In fact, if you go to 179.4, it says the governor is a CEO. and the deputy governor is the deputy CEO. Then you've got the 10 CCs, who also have the accounting officers, who are the chief officers. The chief officers are the ones who have got the authority to incur expenditure. So if you come up with a statement and says that Garissa County does not have CEOs, it really begs the question as whether that county exists or not. You know, we sit here in this house and we devolve funds to go to our counties. These chief officers are the ones, in fact, if you read the 2 articles that my brother Cheryl Gay has read, if you read Article 225, which defines the process of which funds can be stopped from being sent to counties, the Constitution states clearly that Parliament shall enact legislation to ensure a fiduciary responsibility. So, Mr. Speaker, one of my biggest pet peeves is when we have counties and we come here, we sit here. You know, some of us, by the time we leave this Parliament, our backs are either broken because we sit here to be able to defend these counties. Really, is there any logical explanation as to why my good county of Garissa does not have chief officers? What is so difficult? Is it an issue of clanism? Is it an issue of incompetence? In this case, I'm sure there are others who are working. I'm sure there are so many young Kenyans who can be able to work as chief officers. Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very, very serious omission, which now begs the other question, which my brother Cheryl Gay had alluded to, has to do with the issue of the control of budget. How are funds then released by the control of budget to be able to go? Who authorizes those releases? You know, I'm looking at my brother, and I hope my brother, pilot, party leader, you know, captain, and also chair of budget, can be able to clarify these things. Because if I read the PFM Act, and I read it, I know it like the back of my hand. These 2 individuals, the chief officer, is the one who requisitions funds. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the cash requisitions on a daily basis, which are sent to the control of budget, the signature there for Narok County is a gentleman called Ole Naingisa, who is the chief officer. Correct. So, what is the name of the chief officer for Garissa County? Is it Ole Fulani, or who is it? Because I'm just curious. These are some of the things that we really have to take seriously. And I thank the Senator of Garissa for bringing that matter into the attention of the Senate. These are issues that must be looked at if really we are to have a country. Finally, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, there was a statement which was brought by my brother, Samson Cheryl Gay. What I'd like the committee to do when they are investigating on that issue of floods in the highway, in the expressway, is really to inform this House on the terms of conditions of the public-private partnership of the management of the expressway. In terms of, are we, as a country, supposed to also use public funds to be able to repair, maintain, yet we know the terms of agreement when it comes to an issue of PPP. You know, it is actually on a build, operate, and then transfer, BOT. So if the company which built the expressway is operating it, are we supposed to be also incurring expenditures? Are we also supposed to be inconvenienced by poor workmanship of the expressway, where you find that it is flooded? Now, when you come to the underpath or the lower roads, if you are building a road on top, of course you will affect the road that people are using. Were there any terms and conditions set out in terms of the maintenance of that road? Those are things that we need to understand so that even when we ask questions, we can be able to understand how to respond to our people. The issue of flood, generally, Mr. Speaker, is something that is affecting so many countries today. In fact, when I was sitting here, I was reading a clip I was actually seeing a clip from Tanzania where one gentleman was arguing that there were no floods. But then next to it, you could see floods all over. You know? So he was saying in Swahili, mafuriko. I think if the water levels are not all the way up to your windows and they enter into your house and then they flood your house and they go out, when the water, if you are just marooned in your house and you cannot be able to leave, it doesn't mean that it is mafuriko. But on a serious note, Mr. Speaker, I think this is something that we need to really think seriously on it. We need to consider our infrastructure and see how best we can be able to improve on an annual basis when we carry out our budgets. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Ali Roba.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise